Hello everyone and welcome to Blaugrana Everything and welcome back to the channel. And I just have to say, wow, like seriously, this World Cup in Qatar, these matches we've been seeing, especially in the knockout rounds, like we thought the group stages were dramatic enough, but the knockout rounds have just been taking that to the next level, and we've just gotten through the quarterfinals. So we have our semifinals set in stone. We know who's going to be playing who. Just finished watching the most recent of those quarterfinal matches between England and France, and man, we're just going to be taking a look back right now at these quarterfinals, and in particular because this is Blaugrana Everything, we're going to be looking back at the Cules to see how our players performed in those quarterfinal stages, and maybe try and predict something for the semifinals. I don't know. Let's just go straight ahead and talk about the first of the quarterfinals that we saw at this tournament, which just so happened to have the only Kounde who was in action on the day. That was of course on Friday, and we had Rafinha in action for Brazil, who got one of the shocks of the tournament when they were knocked out by Croatia. Now, I know a lot of people were like really heavy on Brazil with this one. I mean, who wouldn't be after the way that they dispatched of South Korea in the round of 16? But this is a Croatia team that really needed to be respected, and I think after the performance that they put in against Brazil, they're definitely going to be respected, because we saw them for a large part of this match really just shut down Brazil's most creative outlets, those being Vinicius and Rafinha. So Rafinha did actually have I don't want to say he had a terrible game here. He wasn't terrible at all. He did have an impact in some moments. The only problem was that Brazil just weren't moving the ball quick enough, I felt, from one wing to another to open up more gaps for the likes of Vinicius and Rafinha out wide. So Rafinha's performance here not too good. Then he got subbed off just a few minutes into the second half, a substitution that I must admit I didn't really see the point of, because yeah, sure, Anthony came on and he had a few sparks here and there, but by and large he really didn't do anything better than Rafinha was doing it. But anywho, that was the first Kounde that we saw, and he got eliminated, leaving just 5 more Koules in this competition at this point, after we saw the likes of Lewandowski pack their bags in the previous round, Gavi, Pedri, Torres, Balde, Alba, Busquets, all exiting. Fatia, almost forgot him as well, or exiting in that previous round. And this time around, Rafinha was the first to be eliminated in the quarterfinals, and up next, unfortunately for Depay and Jong, they followed Rafinha as well out of the tournament, as Argentina and Netherlands served up what was quite honestly god tier quarterfinal. Okay, sure, it wasn't like sleek and sexy football from both of the teams here. Both teams did their best to not play out of their socks and not give the opposition too much space, but it was quite a match. And Memphis Depay and Frenkie de Jong were of course in action for the Netherlands, both of them starting in this game. Depay here I think was really quite ineffective, and it was quite telling that the guy who came on for Depay as a substitute pretty late in the match scored 2 goals to take the game to extra time, right? Frenkie de Jong was of course one of the players that was charged with watching Lionel Messi, and he did all he could. At some point you just have to hold your hands up and be like, it's Messi. What do you expect me to do? It's not like I'm marking Ronaldo here, right? Anywho, the match eventually went to extra time and to penalties, just like it did for Brazil and Croatia. And Emi Martinez really just came through big for Argentina, as they ultimately won on penalties and knocked out the Dutch. Which then brought us to Saturday, where we saw a shock that was even bigger than what happened the day before with Croatia eliminating Brazil. Because this time around, it was the turn of Portugal to be eliminated by Morocco. Even like the most optimistic, I would say, of people were watching this match between Morocco and Portugal were probably thinking that, Morocco would do to Portugal what they did to Spain, take the match to extra time, then penalties, and then win it there. But it was quite the opposite, because Morocco did actually play some enterprising football in that first half up until they got the goal, and then the second half they kept it tight. Now, in this game, we did not get to see Abde in action here, as he was an unused substitute for Morocco, but they didn't really need him at the end of the day, because they got the job done with good old-fashioned, blood, sweat, injuries, torn hamstrings and tears. And that being that, we moved on to the last quarterfinal, which was between France and England. And here once again we saw what was quite honestly another thrilling and entertaining match. Okay, this, like, the quarterfinals here have really just been like top tier in this tournament, I should admit that. Ousmane Dembele and Jules Kounde were both in the starting lineup for France here in this game, as the French ultimately edged out the English by 2-1 to knock them out, and proceed to that semi-final where they will be facing Morocco. Now, into the performances that we saw today from the Cules, I should say that Jules Kounde in particular was pretty gosh darn good here. I think he was probably the best of all of France's defenders, because we saw time after time how Saka, for instance, kept on just taking Theo Hernandez to school and just, rinsing him out. But I don't remember any one time where Phil Foden was able to get the better of Jules Kounde, ground duel wise. I do remember he did win one header against Kounde. But beyond that, I think Jules Kounde here was definitely France's best defensive player. And if not maybe for Griezmann here, I would say that he was probably France's best player on the day. But I'll give that honor to Griezmann, I think, because, he brought that extra with that assist that he got at the end. Ousmane Dembele as well did perform, I think, admirably. I saw a lot of criticism coming in for him here, but you do have to respect the fact that a lot of Dembele's game today was based around keeping Luke Shaw at bay. Yeah, which isn't something we often see from Dembele, but he was showing a lot of maturity, I think, in possession. Like, there were moments here where he would get the ball and you'd think, like, yeah, this is Dembele is going to, like, go on one of those runs where he dribbles into the cauldron, or he's going to try and, score with a shot from an impossible angle. But, he was making the right calls. He was recycling the ball. We saw that even in France's first goal, where he recycled the ball infield, so it ended up with Tchouaméni, and Tchouaméni scored for that particular thunderbolt. So the performance here from Dembele wasn't the best of his career, but it was a solid performance. And if you think he was that bad, just look at what Kingsley Coman did after coming on for Dembele. Anywho, that's basically that, guys. That was all the Cules that were in action in the quarterfinals of the World Cup in Qatar. Do let me know your thoughts on the performances that we saw, and also, more importantly, your thoughts on the upcoming semi-finals. Now, the remaining Cules, 3 of them that they are, Dembele, Kounde, and Abde, are all going to be involved in the same semi-final, so we're at least guaranteed there'll be a Cule in the final, yeah? But also it means that the other match, we don't really have to watch out for Cules there, so I think maybe this next roundup is going to probably just be like a match review for that France-Morocco game or something. Anywho, thank you for tuning in. If you're still listening up to now, do leave a like and your thoughts as well in the comment section. But thank you for tuning in. Have a great day, and Forza Barça.